Hey y'all, welcome back to the ranch. I'm Jared Paul, and you probably can't even see me because there's a beautiful sunrise going on and this chilly Sunday morning. It's about 6:45 in the morning here on the east coast of the United States, and we got a really hard frost last night. So, I don't really like the cold, but it is what it is. So I'm lucky. Luckily, I got all of my trees winterized, the ones going indoors downstairs in the basement, and the ones staying outside. If you want to check out how I did my trees for winter, there's a couple of playlists about a week or so ago that you could check out for indoor and outdoor trees. So little does Laura know, today we're going to be furthering our work down there on the veggie and fruit garden. We put up a white acrylic fence that's behind me. And then yesterday we did a 4 foot high little barrier to keep the bunnies and other critters out from eating all of our crops like they did last year. So I'll give you the update on that. We're surrounding that by mulch inside and outside today. And most importantly, on the bonsai aspect, we did a planting of 3 succulents a while ago. It's received 1 pruning before. Those cuttings actually took from that pruning. So we are pruning that one again. And we're going to take the cuttings that have rooted and create some really nice plantings. So all of that is coming up on today's episode of Jarhead Bonsai. All right, so this is what I would call one of my cutting trays. It's a nice big thing of soil. It doesn't have a specific agenda. Anytime there is like a succulent that falls off the mama plant, I throw it in here. This is a cutting from this one, the succulent that mimics like a maple tree. This one mimics a pine tree. And then this is the gnarly little bush. And I wanted it to be fully cascading, and it did not disappoint. I put this towards the window, and it just crawled right out of the pot. So it's looking great, but it has gotten a little overgrown. So that's what Laura and I will be pruning up. So this is from the first time we pruned it. These are 3 of the heads from the pine tree. They have all taken nicely. You see they're growing up tall, and they're bright green. This is from the maple tree. Maple, oak tree, whatever, some form of deciduous to be partners with that pine. This is another one of those. And then here we have 2 more gnarly little bushes. So every single cutting from the first time we pruned this has taken. So, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new plants in there. And that was free. And then this is number 8. That's one of those other deciduous, what I would call mimicking a deciduous tree. So we're going to let that bad boy shine today and get that in a different pot. This is a citrus tree that popped up from seed, so we'll leave that in there until it's worthy of a pot. I'm not sure if this is a weed or a tree. Initially, I thought it was a Zelkova, but then the newer leaves started splitting into 3. So I think it might be a weed, but we'll see. There's another one of those. And then this is a flowering little plant from the mama plant, because the tray is usually directly under, so the seeds from the flowers fell, and some of them germinated on their own. So I love the weeping aspect, and this thing blooms like year round. So we're going to get that into this pot with the Eiffel Tower. These bad boys looked great this year, but going into dormancy now. And also there was a lemon-scented gum tree that died in there. So we're going to get these planted into there because it's supposed to hang on the other side of the television. And I'd like it to crawl out of its pot, just like Mama did. So yeah, Laura and I are going to get to that now. All right, y'all. So my bride, Laura. So she is going to do the pruning while I work on creating these 2 other plantings. Actually, I'm just gonna, these things are probably 2 days off from totally wilting up and falling. So I'm just gonna do them a favor and cut them up. So, like I was saying, she's gonna prune up the tree that looks like mimics a pine tree, the one that mimics, we'll call it a maple tree, or no, we'll call it an oak tree. And then our gnarly little bush down here. Okay, so we talked about it briefly before. We're going to do our best to take these cuttings and root them for future plantings. I really like to give clients and friends and family, you know, plants and stuff that we grew and created here, little collages that we created here, because A, they're typically 100 times better than you find in the store. B, it's usually you got it and created it from free, you know, recycled materials. And C, it's just a lot more thoughtful, at least coming from us, knowing that, you know, we prepared the planting, we rooted the planting, beautified the planting, kept it alive, and then we're able to gift it on to maybe, you know, create a plant love in somebody else. So anyways, short story long, I always do that. We're going to take those as cuttings. So I'll add those cuttings to the cutting tray, and I'm going to take some of the previously rooted cuttings out and put them on our plantings here. All right. No, I'm just playing.
Stop.
So there are a couple of really dominant ones in here, so I'll do my best to just get those roots out. And I'll probably put, no, I'll just put one in there. I would put two because it would fill it out nicely now, but I know in spring, those, I forget what they're called, like princess elephant ears or something like that, with the white and the pink veins in that nice light green leaf. They'll be popping up, so it would just be overcrowded. They probably wouldn't do well for each other. We've got a little succulent that wants to hang on. Sure, buddy, you can go along for the ride. And I'm going to aim this so that it's crawling out and over the pot. This way I get a cascading effect with this, and then when the other plant comes out of dormancy in the spring, it'll be more vertical and follow the sun up, and it'll give a nice layered effect to this hanging plant.
That's pretty.
Thank you. I didn't consider doing these as a bonsai before because I just did it and I only had one of them and it's a plant. But now looking at that trunk, it's pretty swirly and gnarly. That might be something to develop, you know, like my geranium bonsai. So I got this Eiffel Tower. Under the Eiffel Tower, there's a bunch of street vendors there all selling the same stuff on a blanket. And anyways, I did the complete cliche thing, and I got a red, white, and blue France hat and an Eiffel Tower that lights up. Let's see if it still lights up. Oh, yep. All right, so that is simple now, but I think it'll be really pretty. So these little hanging baskets Laura got on Amazon, I believe, for very inexpensive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, on Amazon. They come in 3-packs, and we've had them a few years. They've been great. In some of the nursery stores, I see these little hanging configurations, and they want, you know, I know, I'll do it when I hang it up. And they want, you know, like $20 for this simple concept. So, you know, I'm all about shop local, but if you're locally going to try to rip me off, then I'm going on Amazon. How you doing over there?
Good. almost done with the first one.
Cool. Well, that looks good. All right. Cool. So you see how she's preparing the cuttings for me? Got like 2.5 to 3 inches of stem. She's just twisting off those little succulent nodes. Pods, they're not a leaf. And typically, you know, if I didn't know that these would do well, I would add some root hormone powder to these and pop them in. But these things do so well that I don't feel like that's necessary, so I'm not going to waste the product. But if you are rooting, you know, semi-hardwood and hardwood cuttings, I would definitely look into rooting hormone powder. It helps a lot.
How far down do you want these two? All the way to the bottom? Or like up to here?
I want just these two here. So like pretty much at the base.
Like right here?
A little higher.
Where?
So you got base of branch here and base of branch here.
Like two separate cuttings.
Yeah,
and
two
leave
separate.
This tall thing in the
Yeah,
middle.
last time she cut this, it split from 1 into 2, which is ideal. So now we're just cutting both the 2 in hopes that it'll split into 2 and 2. And I'm thinking that these leaves will get smaller. You know, we'll get some more branching. It'll look pretty cool.
What about the other one?
And that one was only a single. This other one only, it just, it gave us a single. So we're just going to take that single out and hope it splits this time.
All the way down here?
Yeah, perfect. And with these, I'm just breaking off the bottom leaves here, twisting them off so that I can stick it in and hopefully grow another one. So that citrus, I think it could be a grapefruit. I don't know. Every time I finish a citrus fruit, I typically take the seeds and I'll just throw it in a random pot because they're hit or miss. They don't all germinate. So when they do, it's like, oh yeah, I remember doing that. But I don't remember what fruit it was. I have a fig cutting in here. I know that'll take. Figs you can root in just a glass of water, or you could do them in soil. They're relatively easy.
This has a bunch of roots in it.
Perfect. So you see that? There's some aerial roots on that guy. In the comments below, how common is it that it's known that when you cut a branch off of a plant that you could actually grow another plant with that branch? I wouldn't know that until about 3 years ago. I learned that from Nigel Saunders, and I started looking it up, and I was like blown away by it. When I was a kid, I was into plants, and you know, before bonsai, I was still into, you know, growing things. I did landscaping. Never knew that. So it's like this awesome thing to me, like free trees, free plants. And it's always like a science experiment. It's like a fifth grade classroom here. This is earth science. This little cutting basket might turn into a really cool landscape planting now that I've got all these plants in here. I think I'm just going to leave this dominant flowering one in here and let it do its thing and crawl out towards the window and cascade out. And then, you know, before you know it, this pot will actually be pretty special. It won't just be for pre-bonsai and such.
Is that good, or do you want that third one pruned over here?
Oh, that's perfect. No, that's what I want. So, she asked if I wanted this side one pruned because she took a lot off of these two. But this one has a very thin branch and trunk, so I'd like the energy to go to that. So that's why I want to leave that intact.
Should we taking out these little things in here?
Yeah, you can twist those off. Okay. Let me get the existing plants I want out of here. All right, so here's a baby oak, succulent oak. I'm actually going to take off a few of the lower leaves so that I can plant it a little deeper so it's sturdy in the soil. It's not going outside, so it's not gonna, I don't have to protect it from like wind blowing it over, but you know, the leaves are pretty large and the root system is pretty shallow, so there we go, that'll work. Got another one over here. Yeah, you can just toss that stuff. Again, taking off the bottom ones. You see I'm just twisting it towards me. I'm not pulling it down because that might skin the actual trunk and then it could get an infection. Specific names to these succulents. Laura and I got them from like this really cool out of town nursery. But basically it just labeled the whole section as succulents and we picked out some really cool ones. Well, she did. There's one other thing in here. Oh. No.
Just a cutting.
Huh. I thought I saw one of these in here, but it must have been from that other one.
Is it that one right there?
No, I just planted that one. So what we will do is we'll just take one of these new guys, since we know they're pretty successful, and we'll add it to it. So we'll have 2 oaks and a gnarly bush in this one. Now when you root succulents as cuttings, you want to basically mist them with a spray bottle occasionally, and don't let the soil turn into like rock hard. I'm going to turn this. Don't let it turn into like rock hard clay, you know, packed down or anything like that. But you also don't want it moist because it'll just rot the succulent before you get an opportunity to get it some roots and get it established. All right, just aiming that one so it can crawl this way away from the 2 oaks. I think that's gonna be nice. And 2 more cuttings to add to the tray. If you're new to this game, you don't have to take this too seriously with getting these in here. Just pretty much open up a spot in the soil, plop that trunk in, and lightly pack it down around it just so that it's sturdy. And they'll root. Throw it in some sun, don't overwater, and you'll be happy. So why don't we get outside? I think finally the frost has melted, the sun's up, and I'll show you a look at what Laura and I accomplished with the veggie and fruit gardens. Stand by. All right, so here we have the hanging plant. You see a little succulent was tied up in the roots and tagged along, so that's cool. That's fine. That'll just kind of be gnarly in here. It might even kick off some babies to hang off this side. And then this guy, I have the trunk headed this away, and it will grow towards the light. So that's where it'll hang. We got a Schefflera jade pencil cactus cutting little planting over here. So there are tons of species that you can do this with. All right, just to give you all a close-up before I head outside. So I dig it. That totally looks like a white pine or a Japanese black pine. It's got a nice little snowball canopy. Here we go. Yeah, definitely an oak. It's got that jagged leaf, kind of like an oak leaf. Sawtooth oak, something like that. And then this guy, I think he's so cool. So you see what I was talking about, how much thinner that trunk is. So nice. We're going to have a few different puffs coming off of here. And this is thickening nicely, so you can see what I want this to do. All right, cool. Let's get outside. Hey, guys. You loud today, Boom Boom. There's Carl the rooster. He's still a teen, but he's getting huge. All right. Let me show you what I brought you out here for. So this is the overflow, actually, from the tree farm. There's like 31 of the white spruce in here. So they're a lot darker green than the ones in the tree farm. And the only thing I could think of is that the majority was compost, leaves and grass, and then soil on top of that. So maybe the compost adds a little bit more enrichment to the soil. But the trees in the tree farm are, nice bright green, so they look good too. Okay, so what I brought you out here for. So you see along the base of the fence line, I had found on the side of the road 100-foot contractor grade little fence. I think they use these to divide properties when they're under construction. So that was a nice find. So what I'm going to do is take wood chips from that huge mound right there and pile it along the inside, build up the base in there, and then along the exterior as well. Now along the front, we put double layered chicken wire to keep the bunnies out, and same thing we're going to do. Mulch to the inside, mulch to the outside. I have plenty of it. It's that natural mulch that I got from the power company. They were happy to just drop it off because that meant they didn't have to go make a dump run. So I have probably 40 to 50 yards still left of free natural bark mulch. I use it as weed barrier, and in this case I'll use it to keep the bunnies out, because bunnies won't dig. So that'll ensure that they don't creep up under the fence. And then with these, I'm going to be adding some peat moss and probably some grass clippings that are pretty well decomposed from this season. And I'm going to till that in for the upcoming spring. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Jarhead Bonsai, y'all. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I know that I did. I love it when I get Laura to join in with me. If you're out there and you haven't gotten your significant other to understand or to participate in your passion for bonsai trees, the way I got her to pique her interest was like that succulent planting. We went out, we bought a pot together. I let her pick out the succulents, and then we did the planting together. So she has like a vested interest. So each time we prune, she's eager to do it along with me. And just, over time, she's developed an appreciation for the plants and the bonsais as well. So it's a fun couples activity, and it's a fun solo activity. I always have something to do here at the ranch. So if you haven't subscribed and hit that notification bell, please do. There's plenty more to come, and I'd love to hear from you. So have a great Sunday, y'all. Take care. Cheers.